Wow. Tell your put us again for back. Wow. That belle teach you 10 years. Say that 10 years with them. Yes. Your mommy no so. No. Your mommy no no. Yes. You come on a village before you come for this place. Yes. Wow. No worry. I'll take you stay here. Yes. I'll buy for your car. We go born now. We should begin a boy or girl. Boy. Boy. Wow. I like to see the beginning of the soul. Yes. Okay. Touch the belly again. Tell your put us no over shake. I just don't know.
Hi guys, you're welcome to my YouTube channel. It's been a while. It's your queen, it's your lady, it's your girl Lavi at Belvie Creations, the beautiful live channel. I haven't been live for a very long time, like really live. I took a break and now I'm back full time. And this is one of the stories. What I'm going to be sharing with you guys today is one of those stories that when I go through social media and I see them, they kind of break me. And then I start asking myself so many questions. If you just watch the video I just showed you guys, that is a video of a 10-year-old girl who has been making rounds in the Cameroonian African social media space. So this 10-year-old little girl is pregnant, and on the video you can actually hear the sound of her voice and you would know that she is very happy in her pregnancy. And then another question is the voice behind the camera, who is supposedly maybe it's the prophetess. I don't know, maybe it's the prophetess she's referring to, or maybe some random person. But my question is, whoever recorded that video, I don't know what they thought. I mean, like, what if it were your child? Would you be happy that your child is making rounds around social media, which doesn't only portray some negativity in the whole society, but also shows your lack of responsibility and your lack of parental care that you're supposed to give to that child as the legal guardian to that child? And then you start asking yourself a lot of questions. Okay, if you haven't, let me show you guys this video one more time. So this is so what she says is, people have been asking me if I'm very certain that you're pregnant. People did ask me whether I'm really sure she'll be pregnant. That's what she said in pidgin English, which means that people have been asking her if this little girl is really pregnant. And this is what the little girl says: it's a miracle. And she says, any man where no one support me may go sleep, which means that anyone who doesn't want to support me should go to hell. So can you imagine? I don't know, but let's just listen to the little girl, to what she is saying. And then if you are her parent, or maybe if you are someone in the society who is informed, who knows the impact of what she is saying, and who can actually uh, diagnose what may have gone wrong behind the scenes in this child's upbringing, or what interrupted this child, you would really understand what is going on. So let's just keep on listening. Anyone who doesn't want to support me should go to hell. That's what she says. Because I know that it is God who has blessed me. Because I know saying that God don't bless me, that means because I know that it is God who has blessed me. That's what the child says. And it's end time. And it's end time. So where does the word end time come from? Because it is either this child is religiously, mentally being played on. Okay, let's listen. I am going to give birth to this child. She says in pidgin English, me, I go born the pikin. That's what she says. And in name na Jesus, meaning I am going to give birth to this child, and this child's name is going to be Jesus. That's what she says. So anyone who has watched this video, anyone who is watching this video should support me. That's what she says. She support me to buy baby stuffs. Anyway, way you don't watch the video, may it support me buy cargo for my pikin, which means anyone who has watched this video should support me to buy baby stuffs for my child. Because if you don't buy baby stuffs for my child, mommy prophetess, that is, mommy prophetess is the kind of title they give to the wife of someone, to the wife of a religious figure who is basically a prophet. So a prophet's wife basically is called a prophetess. That's the appellation they give to prophets' wives or prophets in China. And a prophet is like, a religious title. So she says that anyone who watches this video should support me by buying baby stuffs. And anyone who doesn't want to support me, mommy prophetess is going to support me. That's what she says. Okay, let's keep listening. If you don't buy stuff for my child, mommy prophetess is going to buy baby stuff for me, and I'm going to have this baby safely. That's what she says. And then I don't know if it's the mommy prophetess who is recording the video or if it's some random lady. And this female voice asks, "My daughter, how old are you?" Let's listen to what she says. She says 10. Can you touch that your baby again? Like she should touch her tummy again, her belly bump. And this is what the little girl is doing. Yeah. And after touching her belly bump, what the little girl does is she turns her back and then shakes her butt as if in celebration and, dancing. The boy will pregnant you no day, which means that the man who impregnated you, like, where is the man who impregnated you? Where is the author of your pregnancy? That's what the lady behind the camera is asking this little girl. And then she says, that means you got impregnated like the Holy Mary, like your pregnancy just came like how the Holy Mary as the mother of Jesus, how she got conceived. So what she's basically asking this girl is, so you were conceived, so you conceived by the Holy Spirit. Let me put it that way. And this is what the little girl says. She says yes. And then the lady says, turn your buff again. And that's where I feel so discontented, because she's making this. Okay, let me not go into the details. So let's just listen until the end. And then the little girl turns her butt again and then shakes her butt. And then the lady behind the camera says, wow, this pregnancy suits you. That belly fits you, eh? That's what she says. And she asks again, did you say you're 10 years old? And the little girl says, yes. And then the voice behind the camera says, does your mom know about this? Ya mommy knows so. And let's listen to what the little girl says. I don't know if you guys can actually see it, but this is just the best way that I can actually see. Let me see. Okay, I think this is better. And she says, yeah, mommy knows so, as in, does your mom know? And the little girl says, no. Yeah, mommy no. She said, yes. Does your mom know about this? She says, no. And she asks again, your mom doesn't know about this? And the little girl says, yes, she doesn't know about it. And then she asks the little girl, did you leave the village to this place? Now, let me explain this part. It's almost been 4 years and there's been a political uprising in Cameroon between separatists, Amazonians, and the Cameroon government, or let me say the government. So based on this, a lot of people have migrated from the northwest and southwestern parts of Cameroon, and they have found themselves in safer regions. Maybe some people are in Yaoundé, some people are in Douala, and it's really tough for them. So that is why this lady asked this girl, like, are you from the village? Like, did she leave the village to the present location, which I have no idea where they are at the present moment, but it's definitely in a safe place from the parts where there are uprisings, you know, the wars, the shooting and killing of people. So that's why this lady asked him that, is she from the village? And she says, yes. So my understanding is that this little girl's family is back in the village. And maybe because of the northwest, southwest crisis in Cameroon, the parents must have sent her to the city to live with maybe a distant family member. And some way, somehow, someone managed to abuse this little girl who is 10 years old. Okay, let's listen to the video until the end and then we continue. Yeah, mommy don't know. She says yes. You come on a village before you come for the place. She says yes. Are you from the village? Yes. And then the lady says, wow, like, never mind, like, it's okay. Don't be worried. I'm going to take you in. Like, I'm going to take you in and you're going to stay with me, live with me. And then the lady says she's promises to buy baby stuffs for the little girl, 10-year-old little girl, and then ask her what kind of a baby she's going to give birth to, whether it's a boy, it's going to be a boy or a girl. And she says boy. And the lady says, wow, and you would like to see this your child, right? She says, yes. And then she says, okay. Oh, touch your stomach again, like touch your belly button again, touch your tummy again. And then the little girl does that and she says, turn your butt again and shake it, but don't like, not like violently. I don't know if after watching this video, I don't know how you feel about this, but I haven't had the right mental mind frame ever since I watched this video. It brought a lot of stories in my mind. It made me go through a lot of stuffs. And this video has been on social media for a week or so, and I could not really bring myself to talk about this, but I kept on feeling this push like, okay, this is something that you should really talk about on your channel. And this is what I think about this. First of all, if you listen to the video carefully, you would have heard where the little girls, from the little girl's comportment, she has this confidence. She's very confident in her pregnancy. And then she talks about end time. Why would a little girl of 10 years old start talking about end time? It makes me to start asking questions like, it's either a religious figure impregnated her and they're trying to use religion to manipulate this little girl and to make her have the confidence to think that it's normal, to normalize being pregnant at 10 years old. Because I cannot understand the confidence a 10-year-old girl has to be pregnant, talking about end time, and then acknowledging that she has conceived by the Holy Spirit, like she said, and then saying that she's going to name the child Jesus. I feel like there is a lot of religious manipulation going on in this child's life. And maybe this child has got no idea that everything happening to her is wrong. Now, the lady who recorded the video happens to be a prophetess. And I wouldn't know her purpose, but the question I'm asking is, if she's a prophetess, then is it that she's stepping in to help this child? Or is it that she's kind of connected somehow and has more knowledge than what she's sharing out there? The fact that the little girl says that, because the prophetess, I don't know if it's the prophetess, let me just put it, the voice behind the camera. Let me not just imply that because she called the name of prophetess, maybe the prophetess is involved. So let me just say the lady behind the camera. So when the lady behind the camera says she's going to take her in, buy baby stuffs for her, my question is, if you're going to take this girl in, if you're stepping into this 10-year-old little child's life to clear up the mess and to save what has been going on with the girl child in our African community, then why would you record this video and send it public? Then why would there be scenes like turn your bath, shake your bath? Like, how does it reduce the effects of what is already happening? Because this little girl is just 3 years short of my daughter's age. And it is very painful that a child, a girl child, should find herself in that space where there is no informed, positively sane adult to take her and to correct whatever is going on in her life. So I'm kind of bothered and I'm asking myself questions like, what is going on with this child? What is going on with this little girl? Now, when she says, um, I want tell una say if una no one buy my pikin thing, then mommy prophetess go buy. Why does she have the guts to even tell people that um if you don't buy baby stuffs for me, mommy prophetess is going to buy it? There is a lot of questions that are going on. There are a lot of questions that an informed, sane adult should start asking, like, what is going on with this little girl? How would a 10-year-old child get pregnant? And then this child is being recorded on video. This child is touching her belly button, touching her tummy, and dancing and shaking her butt. Like, the confidence for me is like, there is something, there is an adult that was supposed to take over this child, to take care of this child who has not taken care of her responsibility. Now, when the voice behind the camera asks the little girl that, when the voice behind the camera asks the little girl that, um, does your mom know about this? And the little girl says no. And then she asks the little girl if she's from the village, which now this brings to mind another question. It is certain that this girl must have been sent to the city by her parents or her guardian, in this case, her mom, and her mom has no knowledge of what is happening to her daughter. Certainly, because of the war that has been going on in the northwest and in the southwestern parts of Cameroon, where the military has been fighting with the separatists, the Amazonian separatists, because the Anglophone Cameroon has been trying to separate from the Francophone Cameroon based on some historical stuff that I wouldn't want to talk about. And this has affected a whole lot of people in Cameroon, especially in the northwest and southwest regions of Cameroon. People have died, children have died. Maybe if you go on social media, you would see a whole lot of stories. And recently, there was about two children were brutally murdered. I don't know if it's by the military or by the separatists in a village in the southwest province called Ikombe. And because of this migration, there has been that because of this, sorry to say migration, because of these upheavals, people have moved from the southwest region, people have moved from the northwest region, and some people find themselves in really messy situations. And amongst these people, the most affected are the girl child. The most affected people is the girl child. And one of such is this little girl who is just 10 years old, pregnant, talking about end time, saying that she got conceived by the Holy Spirit, supposedly just like Jesus got conceived. And you start looking at the effects of war, and then we're going to the next topic I would like to bring up to you. So before I go to the next topic, let's trash this out first. So the question you can ask yourself is, okay, was this little girl raped? Did someone take advantage of her? Is there someone who is manipulating this little girl and making her think that it is normal for her to be pregnant at 10 years? The kind of confidence this little girl shows portrays that there is absolutely someone who is taking advantage of her. Because if it was the case of a little girl and a little boy misbehaving, it would be completely different. But there is certainly an adult who is behind this. And at the moment, we are still investigating what really went wrong. We're still trying to understand what the situation is. But from every indication, it shows that this girl was sent from the village to the city by her family, her parents. And she obviously came to stay with maybe a long distance family member who has not taken charge, who has not taken responsibility over this little girl, maybe by sending her to school. If this little girl is somewhere in Douala or Yaoundé, then from the information I'm getting, there are a lot of Anglophone kids. When I say Anglophone kids, it's the English speaking part of Cameroon. That's how we're going to describe it, English speaking part and French speaking part of Cameroon. There are so many of these young uh, kids who have been sent from the northwest and the southwest region to live with family members, relatives in places like Yaoundé and Douala, and the few places that are safe, which are like not really safe, like a little bit calm. And obviously, there have been a lot going on. Some of them are abused at school. Some of them are abused by the French speaking kids, calling them names like Le Bamenda, Le Biafra, and all of those titles. And some of these kids complain that they're having a hard time at school. And obviously, a child that is not mentally informed, a child that is not mentally strong, would basically be challenged and kind of end up dropping out if they don't have that mentally informed adult in their life. So I would say that maybe the person in charge of this 10-year-old child failed to send her back to school, because this child should be in school just like her age mates. Maybe the person in charge of this child may have been the one who has abused her, or maybe she's being abused right under the nose of the person who is supposed to take charge over her. And why does this child need somewhere to stay? Because if you listen to the video, let me show you guys the video one more time as we continue to talk about the story. Let me show you guys the video again. They're asking me if you're really pregnant. What should I tell them? She says, tell them it's a miracle. Tell them God has blessed me. It's end time. I am going to have this baby safely, and I'll name him Jesus. So anyone who has watched this video should support me by buying baby stuffs. Because if you don't buy baby stuffs, mommy prophetess is going to buy this for me, and I'm going to have this child safe. How old are you? She said 10. Can you touch the baby again? And she touches her belly button. And then she asks, where is the author of the pregnancy? And she says he's not around. So you got impregnated through the Holy Spirit like the Mother Mary. And she says yes. Okay, turn your butt one more time. Touch your tummy again. And did you say you're 10 years? Does your mom know about this? No. Are you from the village? She says yes. Don't worry, like it's okay. I'll take you in. Are you going to have a boy or a girl? She says boy. You really want to see this baby, right? She says yes. Touch your belly button again. Touch your tummy again. Turn your butt again, but don't shake it too much. Yeah. So what would you do if this child was your child? What would you do? When would you step in? And at this point in time, I'm tempted to ask, like, if this has been going through social media, this child is speaking Pidgin English, which is Cameroon Pidgin. Obviously, there are ministries in Cameroon. When I say ministries, there are governmental departments that are charged with taking care of this. What is the International Organization for the Protection of the Child doing about this? What are the Ministry of Empowerment, Women Affairs that are in charge of the girl child? What are they doing about this? When you look at this child's age, the confidence, what she's talking about, and how she conducts herself, you start asking yourself so many questions. And it is really, really clear that there must be an adult that has been abusing this child. And this child is being manipulated upon. And I think religion is being used as the tool. Because if religion is not being used as a tool to manipulate this child and make her feel like it is normal for a 10-year-old child to be pregnant, then why is the child saying that when she gives birth to the child, to the baby, she's going to name the baby Jesus? Why would she even think about that? And why wouldn't she give information about who impregnated her? And why would she even agree that she conceived by the Holy Spirit, just like Mother Mary, the mother of Jesus, got conceived? And why would she even mention words like end time? You know, and why would she even summon the confidence, to actually say that um um if nobody, if anyone watching the video should support her to buy baby stuffs, and if nobody wants to support her to buy baby stuff, then it should go to hell. Like, mommy prophetess is going to help me buy baby stuffs. And then you start asking yourself questions. So at the end of the day, there is an adult behind this whole scenario, using religion as a tool to manipulate. I don't know how to. In fact, I'm so angry in my spirit that my English is just mixing up with French, Chinese, German, and every other language that I've heard in the surface of the earth. So I actually think that there is someone manipulating this child and making this child think that um it's normal to be pregnant at 10. At the end of the day, what would you suggest that should be done to this child? Because at this point in time, her guardians have failed her, her parents have failed her, the ministerial departments in Cameroon have failed her, the adults around her have failed her. Recording a video of this child, telling her to touch her belly button and telling her to shake her butt, it sexualizes her. I hope YouTube will not take that out. It makes her to be looked upon as like, I don't know, like inviting, and it actually puts her in danger. And I think that recording the video and asking the child to do all those actions for an underage child is just a no-no. So at the end of the day, what would you do if it were your child? I think that if there is any adult that can actually take this child in and teach her the right way, then it will go a long way to change this child's life. And who knows what this child may grow up to be? Who knows if this child may turn out to be an impact to the society? Who knows whether by touching this child's life and changing her story and making this child to realize that the adults around her failed her can actually give her the opportunity to give back to the society after realizing that she came out from a very difficult story that turned into a positive story. I think that at this point in time, instead of showcasing this child on social media and to trying to bring her out and shaking butt and doing all of that is kind of sexing her, I think it's wrong. I think the right thing to do would be to take this child in, teach her, no, the person who did this to you, abused you, did this and did this to you. It's not normal for you to be pregnant at 10. And this is the right way to do it. The pregnancy is already full term, and it's okay to allow the little girl to have her baby. And I know that having the baby would change a lot in this little girl's life. But rather than let her lose her life, rather than completely um, destroy something that can be so great of an impact in the world tomorrow, this child can actually be adopted. She's only 10. And the child she's going to give birth to can equally be adopted, and it will change a whole lot of story and make the world a better place. So that's what I think. I don't know what you think about this, but I would really love to hear your opinions about this. On to our next story about African perspectives. I'm going to be sharing with you another story that has been making waves in the African Cameroonian social media space. And this is another case of abuse. I'm going to read this out to you guys so you can hear it for yourself. Hello, Jackie. Thanks for the thumbs up. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, this is one of such stories. So I gathered this story from Gist. She's Esau Dilly's Gist, a blogger, a Cameroonian blogger, and you can find her on Facebook. She's also got a YouTube channel, and this is where I gathered this story from. And it goes thus: a 13-year-old girl commits in the backyard of a cathedral in Garoua. Garoua is a city in Cameroon, in the northern part of Cameroon, and it has borders with Nigeria. The people around Garoua are for the most part Muslims. It says the lifeless of a 13-year-old girl was seen on a tree in the backyard of a cathedral in Garoua. She was allegedly abused before she committed it, if you understand what I mean. Investigations are currently going on. Now, this is another case of violation, and it has to do with the girl child. It is alleged that she was violated by somebody. Most of the times, these people who violate young girls are for the most part adults. And sometimes it is adults that are supposed to take care of these kids. They are guardians that are supposed to guide these kids, watch over these kids, show them the right way to go through the world. But instead of teaching them, instead of taking them under our wings and teaching them and helping them to grow up with the confidence and a critical mind of their own, we rather abuse them and create monsters from these kids. I'm gonna be reading the next story to talk about these monsters we create. And when we create these monsters, do we blame these monsters for who they become? Or do we take responsibility as adults that we're supposed to protect these kids we failed to protect, but abused them, violated them, and turned them into these monsters? So this takes me to the next story I'm going to be reading out to you. And this story was called out from, I picked up this story from Bella Powers' Voice. Bella Powers is another Cameroonian blogger, and she's on Facebook. You can go to her blog and find this story on her blog. So I picked this up from Bella Powers' Voice, and this is how it goes. Young lady posts out an anonymous revenge message on Facebook. And this is what it says in quotes. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you. So this is what she wrote. I was violated, raped by the father of a friend of mine when I was 10 years old. Over the years, I worked to destroy his life, his pets, set his house on fire, hid drugs in his car, garage, mailed his bus. He was fired. His wife divorced him. He killed himself. I have never felt so much better in my whole life. End of quotes. Now, this is the question. This is what I'm reading from Bella Powers' blog on Facebook. Now, this is the question. What she did, was it right or wrong? We, as adults, should protect these kids. But when we fail to protect them, we violate them and we create monsters out of them. Now, when you look at the monster you've created and how this monster reacts to his immediate environment, would you blame this child, this monster you created, for acting as a monster? Or would you plead the forgiveness and God code that we always plead in Africa? So after going through this post on Bella Powers' Voice, I went through the comments section and there were a whole lot of crazy comments. Why some people came in and said that, we should forgive, vengeance is not of vengeance is of God, um, stuff like that. Others were so bitter because maybe they have experienced rape, violation, being abused, or maybe someone so dear to them has experienced this and they know the mental and psychological torture that can go with experiencing this, or having someone who has gone through this and having to be there to help them recover, to help them regain their mental health. So one of those very interesting comments was the God comment, like people saying that, oh, leave vengeance to God, vengeance is of God, yes, the man did wrong, but she did not have to take away the man, send the man away to the other world. And other people said one wrong doesn't make a right. Others said different kind of stories. And this brings me to an experience I had when I was a child. So I was really, really young, but I was really stubborn. I had a mind of my own growing up. Maybe it came naturally because I took that from my mom, but this helped me. So I grew up with my grandmom for the most part of my life. Like when I was a baby, I grew up with my grandmom. So I remember one day coming back from school, and then like my my school was not very far from our home. So I remember one day I was coming back from school, and then I met my friend's uncle under the guavas, oranges, color nut tree. You know how village life can be. I grew up in the village. So I met him and he was eating mangoes. And then he tells me, come here. And I'm like, no, I'm not coming. And he tells me, let's do something so I can give you mangoes. And I ask him, what is this thing you want us to do so you can give me mangoes? I don't know what came into my mind, but at that point in time, I just took to my heels and ran away, like went home, and that was it. And then now I am an adult and I imagine how tall and big he was. And then I imagine that had I agreed to do what he wanted us to do, which at a point in time in my life, I came to understand that he wanted to violate me. We were in an isolated place. It was like the road I would take back from school. And not many people go through that road. So we were in an isolated place, and I could not understand what he actually wanted him and I to do before he could give my own mangoes. And it was later on in life that it came onto me like, oh, I actually missed being abused. I actually missed being violated by somebody. And it brings me to another experience I had. Growing up, we used to be like really many at home. So one time I went over to a friend's house, like kids would go to play, go to our neighbors' houses and all of that. It was really like we were neighbors, we were really very close. And I went there and I fell asleep, and along the way, I felt someone touch my legs, and then I immediately got up. This thing happened over and over and over. And what did I do? At this point in time, I was in my first year in secondary school. And thank God the school I went to, I was taught well. I had been told about all of these things. So when this guy attempted to violate me, I went to an adult instead of going to I went to an adult, an auntie, and told her, because at that point in time, my mom was not around. My mom had traveled. And I told her, tell this guy to stop doing this, because if he does it, I'm going to tell my mom. Now, telling my mom was like the very, very big case, because I knew that it was really going to be terrible on him. So I told this auntie of mine, and she told him, and it stopped. So when you have those instances that you actually went through as a child and you got saved, you start asking yourself questions like, what if it was me? What if it happened to me? So when situations like this come up, you start asking yourself questions like, we as adults, kids we're supposed to watch after, kids we're supposed to teach, kids we're supposed to protect, teach, kids we're supposed to lead, but we end up violating them. And then we create monsters. Some of them never come out of that mental, psychological trauma of having themselves abused by someone they trusted. Some of them do go through, but end up in very, very serious situations. For example, not everyone you see on the street as a prostitute is actually went into prostitution. Some of them went through being violated. And they say there is always a positive and a negative aspect to something. And maybe that led to what they became. Some of them never regained the confidence. Some of them shut down. Some of them never ever live normal lives. So when you go on social media and you're trying to say that um, God, vengeance to God, and the God kind of thing, yes, indeed, leave vengeance to God. But do not forget what this person may have gone through. Do not forget the demons that this person has been dealing with and trying to express themselves. They say that when you go through something and there is no one to actually sit down and have that conversation with, it is the worst trauma you can ever go through. But when you can actually have someone to have a conversation with, it is the beginning of your healing. From what I copied from sorry. Oh, I'm getting very emotional about all of this. From what I copied from Bella Power's voice blog on YouTube, on Facebook, this is the kind of person that I think this lady became. Let me read the story one more time. She says, a young lady pours out an anonymous revenge message on Facebook, and it goes thus, in quotes: I was raped by the father of a friend of mine. This is an adult. Maybe the father of his friend was equally raping her friend. Maybe if you have a conversation with her friend, maybe the father did the same thing to that friend. The same thing the father did to her is the same thing the father did to his own child. Because if you could violate your child's friend, then it is something you're already doing with your own child. These are adults that are supposed to watch over these kids to grow up, guide them, show them the right path in life, but they take advantage of them. Let me continue. I was raped by the father of a friend of mine when I was 10 years old. 10 years old. Now, remember the story about the pregnant girl we just talked about. She's 10 years old. In her own case, she has certainly been raped, taken advantage of, and religiously misinformed, manipulated to think that everything that is happening to her is normal. And the adult in her life is hiding behind and pretending and using religion to exploit, manipulate, and ruin this little 10-year-old pregnant child's future. It is very certain that that is what is going on in this child's life. Just like this pregnant 10-year-old girl, this one never got pregnant. She's also 10 years old. Over the years, I worked to destroy his life. These are the effects of what she went through. Maybe when it happened, if this little 10-year-old child had another adult around her with whom she could have that conversation with, like maybe it would have provided some form of healing. Maybe it would have provided some form of rehabilitation, and she wouldn't have gotten to the to this point in time where she had to grow up to seek revenge on her own. Okay. Over the years, I have worked to destroy his life, killed his pets. Now, why would she kill his pets? You know, pets are like members of the family. Like personally, I don't eat dogs because I consider dogs as humans. To me, it's like if I can kill a dog, then I can kill anybody. So I wouldn't even touch a pet. I wouldn't even. Dogs and cats and horses are animals we should not play with because these are animals that perform a lot of duties that can actually save human life. But this little girl, because of rape, she became a monster. She had to kill pets. She set her abuser's house on fire. She hid drugs in his car and garage, certainly to implicate him in the face of the law. She mailed his boss. He was fired. His wife divorced him. He became homeless. And 2 months ago, the man takes himself away by himself. Hi, Diana. You're welcome to my live video. Thank you for showing up. Please don't forget to leave a thumbs up. Thank you. So, virtually, this is the monster this man created. By violating this 10-year-old little girl, he created a monster. And because this little girl had no one to confide in, she had no one to talk about these issues with. She has intensified them. And by intensifying them, this is the result of what this man input in her. What you give into somebody, if that person doesn't talk about it, it turns out to either be positive or negative, depending on how informed this person is. In this case, if this little girl at 10 years old had someone to confide in, maybe she would have found some form of healing or rehabilitation. And maybe she wouldn't have gone to the extent of, you know, destroying the man's life, killing the man's pet, setting the man's house on fire, calling the man's bus, and doing all the things she did. Whether she is right or not is not of essence, because rape is something that can be really devastating. It can be really devastating. It can ruin you. It can take away your confidence. It can take away your mental stability. It can mess you up. And anyone who doesn't have the empathy towards someone who has gone through rape lacks the empathy to even think about someone who is dead. Yes, she may have been wrong to end the man's life, but she didn't do that by herself. She just wanted to see the man in a not so good condition. So whether the man lived or did not, whether the man survived or not, is not of any essence because she didn't pull the trigger on him. He did that by himself. She just wanted to see the man feel the pains she felt. Now, it is okay that you cannot solve a wrong through another wrong. But the law of equity says that he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. The law of thought says that what you do, the revenge must be equal to the attack. And I think that the revenge she gave back to this man was equal to the attack. The man raped her. It hurt her. It ruined her life. It traumatized her. She grew up with this and she intensified this. There was no adult to talk about this with. And all she wanted to do was to see the man going through the same pain she was going through. She did not kill the man. So if anyone is saying that the man's blood is in her hands, then they are wrong. She just put the man in the same situation he put her through. And it was left on this man, her father, her friend's dad who raped her, to determine how he decides that the consequences of his life should impact on his life. He had the choice to leave and go through. He had the choice to seek permission from this little girl, but he did not. He chose to die, not because the little girl killed him, no, but because he wanted to. When he raped this little girl did not go killing herself because he violated her, no. She merely wanted to see him go through everything she went through. And when he was going through everything he made this little girl go through, he did not have the mental capacity to withstand what he was going through. So no one killed him. I do not think this little girl should be blamed for this man's death. He did that by himself. It's not on her. She may have been a consequence, but the man chose how the consequence would affect him. The little girl did not tell him to do it to end his life. No. The man chose the consequences and he took his life by himself, not the little girl. That is why I say, whatever you put outside the universe comes back to you. So whatever you do to someone, ensure that if it comes back to you, would you withstand it? Sometimes the things we do, when given back to us, we cannot even bear it. That's why in whatever you do, you should always put in the what if it's me policy. When you ask yourself questions like, okay, this thing I did to this person, what if it was done to me? How would I feel? I think that as adults, if we take responsibility of things like this, then there are some vices that are so easy to trash out. So what I'm talking about is about this story that, hi, healthy mind, peaceful body. Hi, Betio. It's been a long time. Thanks for coming in. Thanks for coming in. Please don't forget to leave me a little thumbs up. Thank you. So I'm talking about this rape story I picked up from Bella Power's voice, whereby an anonymous girl talks about a revenge message on Facebook, how she was raped by her friend's dad when she was 10 years old. And now she grows up and then does practically everything in order to destroy this man's life. She kills his pets, she sets his house on fire, she hides drugs in his car, his garage, obviously to implicate him with the law. And she goes on to mail the man's bus. The man gets fired from his job. He gets divorced. His wife divorces him. The man becomes homeless. And then 2 months later, the man ends his life. And I was going through the comments on Bella Power's voice. Bella Powers is a Cameroonian blogger. So I picked the story from her blog and decided to share it with you guys. Thank you, Betty. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Very well, yeah. So I picked up this and I was going through the comments, and a lot of people were saying that she would have forgiven the man, which is okay. And a lot of people are saying that what she did was wrong, that the man's blood is on her, which is okay. And a lot of people are crying foul, saying that if you've never ever faced rape, you would not know the level at which this girl found herself before doing all the things that she did. But from every indication, the attack, the revenge was equal to attack. What the man did to this girl, the girl did the same thing to him. She chose not to forgive him. Maybe by doing the same thing to him was her own way of seeking forgiveness, knowing that the person who abused her is going through the same thing he did to her. Maybe it was her own way of seeking forgiveness. She may be wrong, but that was her own way of starting up through the forgiveness ladder. And that's why she says that I have never felt so much better in my whole life. That is how she seeks her own forgiveness. Maybe this little girl is not even, maybe this girl is not even a Christian. Maybe she's an atheist, and that's her own religious kind of way of finding forgiveness, forgiving the man by doing the same thing with the man. Now, whether the man's blood is on her hand or not, the thing is, she did the same thing to the man, but she did not tell the man to go and murder and end his life. I think by ending his life, it was the man's personal choice. Yes, revenge is not the best option. It is certainly not the best option. But we have to be very open minded the way we see it. We see it from the Christian point of view. From a Christian point of view, we would say, leave vengeance to God. From an atheist point of view, maybe she would want to do the same thing that man did to her. From an empathic point of view, maybe we would want to see a balance, like, this is what you did, this is what you did. Maybe we can see it from a karmic point of view, because there is one thing that is very clear. Whatever you do is what you receive. So imagine that you did something. What is karma? Karma may come calling at any time. Karma doesn't tell you the form that it will take to come to you. Maybe the karma decided to come through the girl's own hands. Maybe the karma decides to come 10 years later. Maybe the karma decides to affect someone in his line. So whatever it is, whatever you give in, karma comes to you. But we can never determine what karma is. There are times that maybe I would say that somebody has done me dirt and I'm like, karma, when would you come? Have you ever gotten to a point in time where you start saying that, karma, when are you going to come? Like this, vindicate me. Some, like the same way we say, karma, when will you come, is the same way we go on our knees and we pray to God for God to vindicate us. So basically, this is a whole lot of a situation. But for someone to say that this man's blood is on the girl's hand is extreme. Yes, the man raped her and she revenged. Her revenge, she did not pull a trigger on the man. The man had choices. Just like how when he raped this girl, she had the choice to end her own life, but she did not. She chose to live. And in living, she decided to take karma into her own hands and revenge, which from a Christian point of view is not correct. We would say that leave vengeance unto God, which from an atheist point of view, it is correct. Which from an empathic point of view, I want to feel pity for the girl and I want to feel pity for the man. Yet, I want that both parties should find peace in themselves first before finding peace in another person. Maybe from a karmic point of view, we would say the man deserved it because it was what he sent out to the universe. It was what he did to the girl that came to him, and karma decided to come through that girl to end his life. But what I disagree on is when people are saying that the man's blood is on the girl's hands. No. Yes, the girl did this and did that. When a man raped her, she had the choice to end her life. She never ended her own life. When the girl, when the girl killed the man's pets, set the man's house on fire, hid drugs in the man's car and garage, mailed the man's bus, got the man fired from work, got the man's wife to divorce him, got the man to become homeless. The man had a choice to make the best out of this through making conscious decisions that would have still kept him alive. So his blood is not on this girl's hands. It is on his hands. His choice made him to get to this point. So his choices made him get to this point. He chose what he wanted to be his end by taking his own life. His blood cannot be on this girl's hands. That is why life comes without a roadmap. Sometimes you battle with different things, but you choose what you want. That is why not everyone who sets out on a race will arrive at their destination. Some people will choose to give up. Some people will choose to continue. If you choose to give up, it is on you, not on the people you set out on that race for. He had the choice to leave. Everyone gets difficulties. What if it's not the girl who set his house on fire? What if it was something that just happened? Like, disasters do happen in life. What if it is not this girl who killed his pets? What if it is not this girl who got him fired, who got his wife to divorce him? What if there were just those basic problems we face in life? Wouldn't you have a rethink and just understand that this is life? It comes without a roadmap. You can only give up when you're not alive, but as long as you live, you can change it. He chose not to stay and fight. He chose to end it. So when people say that maybe this girl, his blood is on this girl's hands, I feel like it is that religious trap whereby we use the Bible to preach to people when things don't favor us, and then we try to put the Bible mellow when things favor us. And to me, I feel like it's some form of religious manipulation. We're not looking at this thing with open minds. So to me, I do not think that this girl killed this man. This man chose his end by himself. Everything that happened to him, he did not know it was this girl who did it. Yes, no matter what you're facing, hold on to God. God has a plan for everything. Maybe if he looked at all of these things like maybe bad luck, he would have still trusted that there will be a change. Because if the man knew that it was the little girl he raped who was doing all of this to him, maybe he would have taken the step to meet this little girl and to try to find um, some form of reconciliation, by begging her, talking to her, and because sometimes when you get to the wall, you get to the wall. You have to stand up and say, yes, I messed up. Yes, I know I was wrong. Yes, I know I went the wrong way, and this is what happened. Can you forgive me? Sometimes people find it hard to forgive you, not because they can't forgive you, but because what you did, you're not working towards them to help them forgive you. Sometimes you need to help the people you hurt to be able to forgive you. And that is by showing them how remorseful you are towards your actions. That is by showing them that you understand how much what you did hurt them, and you want to be there to bring a change, and you want them to give you a chance to bring back that trust. Even if you cannot bring a whole lot of that, but sometimes you need to also help the people you hurt so that they can find themselves reconciled and then walk themselves back to forgiveness. People say forgive and forget. There is nothing someone does to you that you forget. The forgetting part is when they are actually completely able to talk about that thing without getting the emotions and the pains that come to mind when they remember that thing. When they're able to have that conversation without that mental torture that this is what this person did, without that bitterness. So sometimes you've got to work out the forgiveness. Sometimes you've got to help someone to be able to forgive you. That's why some people find it really hard to forgive others, because you're not working it out. You're not helping them to be able to forgive you. You're not working it. You're not trying to bring back the trust. You're not trying to restore what you took away. So basically, this man, his blood is not on this girl's hands. He chose his consequence. He chose his manifestation, and it happened to him. So if there is anyone talking about this whole issue, it's not on this girl's hands. So I don't know what you think, but I would really love to hear your opinions. I would really love to hear what you think about the case of the little girl who, the little Cameroonian girl who is pregnant at 10. What you think about the person who brought this on social media and the information shared between this little girl and the lady behind the camera. I showed you guys the video earlier, and you could hear the voice behind the camera asking the girl, like, are you 10 years old? And she says she's 10 years old. And the little girl says that, what, like, they asked her, what about the father of your child, the author of your pregnancy? And she says, daylight. He's not available. And then she says that, and then they ask her, did you conceive? And she said, yes, like conceive like the Holy Mary. And she says, yes. And then she talks about end time. And then she talks about giving birth to her child and she would name him Jesus. And from every indication, it is clear that this little 10-year-old girl who is pregnant has been violated, has been abused by an adult. And this adult is using religion to manipulate and abuse this child and completely confuse this child. The kind of confidence this child has, and then the person behind the camera asking this little girl who is 10 years old to shake her butt, kind of sex her to the whole world. You can't tell a 10-year-old to shake her butt. She's not a stripper. And at the end of the day, from this story, you find out that a lot of things that are happening around us, especially when it comes to our African society, it's because we do not have adults that are informed. We do not have adults that have the mental capacity to even think how to handle these kind of problems in a positive way. And I ended this talk about this little 10-year-old girl, about your suggestions about what we can do in order to help this little girl. Ever since I watched her story, I've had this burden in my mind. This little girl is just a few years short of my daughter. And it hurts me to see that she's around adults who have no idea how they can protect her, who have no idea how they can positively handle this situation and protect the little girl and the baby she's carrying. You never know. Maybe this little girl, after going through what she has gone through, maybe the journey ahead is after coming out of what she has gone through, she would be someone that would change my life, your life, and even your own child and our child and the next generation's life. So I would like to hear your suggestions about this 10-year-old child's situation. The second story I talked about was that of a little girl who was violated somewhere in Garoua, and she ended her own life, and her body was found at the back of a cathedral in Garoua. Garoua is in the northern part of Cameroon. The northern region of Cameroon is where there are Muslims. And what would have pushed this little girl at 13 to take her own life? If you look at the three victims we've talked about today, it is very clear that there's nobody, there is no adult these kids can actually have the confidence to confide in. There is no adult that these kids can actually talk to and tell them what they're going through. There is no adult that has shown up to positively protect these kids from everything around the world. And this brings us to the conclusion of this video. As an African, things like abuse, violation of the girl child are mostly swept under the carpet because most often it happens under the roof. Most often it is done by a family member. Most often it happens inside the house. There is one of those videos that I would have shared with you guys, but because this video has a lot of, body exposure, I wouldn't want to show it, whereby a man who is supposed to be the dad to this girl looks about 14, 15, was caught right on top of his daughter in the process of sex on the child. And it is very clear that most of these victims are the girl child. And you start asking yourself questions. If we are growing up the girl child, if we are here to empower women, if we are trying to do something that will change the narratives, shouldn't we start talking about these stories and informing the girl child and making them to know how to survive in their surroundings instead of hiding this in the name of culture? Sometimes it's the dad who does that. Sometimes it's a relative who does that. And most often, this is swept under the carpet because of the shame that is associated to this. At the end of the day, these victims are forced to shut down. And when they shut down, they have no adult to talk about this thing. They have no form of healing. And at the end of the day, they intensify everything they go through, and then they grow up, and then we start questioning ourselves why the girl child of our society today is the way they are. Why the girl child today is completely different from the African girl child back in the days. I will not conclude about this topic, but I hope that watching this video, your comments and input will go a long way to change the perspectives and to help us bring up our society, change the narratives in our African community, and change the African perspective and African ways of doing things positively. We are Africans. There is no way we can erase traditions because that is who we are. But there is every way we can eradicate, we can wipe out, that would not build. Thank you, Peaceful Mind, Betsil. Thank you for stopping by. Thank you, Jackie's Fashion. Thank you, Diana Knight. Thank you so much. Okay, guys, it's the end of this live video, and I hope to see you in my next video. Have a belle vie. Au revoir.